2, 1.
Good day, welcome back everybody. We are back onto Summoner's Rift for the second time today in this League Championship Sweden matchup between Lundqvist Lightside, now on the red side of the map, and Invulnerables Esports, who took game one on the blue side. It looks much as though we're going to have a similarly cautious level 1 to what we had last time around, although Snabby and Ziv is maybe stepping a little bit far forward. Oh, well, they're going to get the tiniest little chunk of poke damage onto Loftition. So I guess that's one up from last game.
It definitely is. I mean, thank you, Alador, for the most British welcome we could have given to our stream right there. Good day to everybody indeed. We've got a little bit of a spicy game number 2 coming out relative to what we saw from that game number 1. Obviously, Yasuo Pantheon coming on through, but not really getting the results that were expected from it. This time around, we've got a Jace as an answer to the Galio in the mid lane. We've got Vladimir Kled top lane. A lot more entertaining of a matchup we'd expect than from what we saw in that game number 1.
Yeah, and if there's any occasion which calls for a very British introduction, surely it's the League Championship Sweden.
Exactly.
Anyway, so going into this game now, we are going to see both junglers starting on the bottom side of the map this time around. Not both going for the blue buff. Rudy opting to go for the red buff earlier, so both bot lanes should arrive in that lane at around the same time. Firex already looking to get a little bit of chip damage onto Uzak with that bear trap on a rope. Uzak will be able to respond though, so not really much of a trade in either direction there.
Now going to be able to just sort of sustain that up. Both got Door and Shield in the early game, so going to be looking to get that HP back a little bit more so than they would have done if they'd have gone for the Blade or maybe the Corrupting Potion. Obviously, with both of these two top laners, the mana from that Corrupting Potion definitely not going to be as valuable, so we can see why the Doran's item is just so valuable here.
Yeah, and already the aggression from Beryl coming out. Last time it was Scripture and Beryl having to step back in the early trading in this lane. Now Drifter and Snabby well aware of the huge amount of damage output that can come out of that brand. The Ashe as well definitely can pack a punch, but it's mainly the brand that you're worried about.
Definitely in the early game, you know, the ability to just use the cooldowns off of, or use the spells rather off of cooldown. Definitely something that the brand can be looking to do. And early on, Scroody already focusing this mid lane. Loftition looking for a play.
Scroody coming in onto Ziv will knock him back into the Justice Punch. Nice play there between the two. There might not quite be enough damage. There is. And that's the first blood going over to Scroody.
A little bit of hesitation to use the flash from Ziv right there. Enough damage coming through from that Rampage stack with the final auto attack to follow the flash. Didn't even need the Winds of War from Loftition right there to take that kill. And I don't mind Ziv trying to hold the flash, but he held it just a little bit too long. Did fall from the damage there, and is going to miss a large amount of XP rather under his own turret, having to not use the teleport because he's taken cleanse rather to help out against this Galio. Definitely not going to be a good start to the laning phase for this Jace, which was picked against the Galio.
Yeah, definitely a very, very rough start indeed for someone that you are looking to get really ahead in this laning phase. It is still up in CS for the time being, but only
could be
just
going again.
Yeah, actually, yes, Scroody in the area. The taunt's not going to quite be wide enough. Zivers will be able to escape. Actually going back in. We charged back towards his turret by Scroody. And Zivers, well, that was a strange decision to come back in. Zvictor over the wall just to make sure that Zivers isn't going to fall for the second time this game quite yet. And I did see Beryl roaming up on the bottom side of the map, so I wonder if that's why Zivers went back into the mid lane.
Definitely an interesting situation developing in this mid lane right here. I'll give that one for sure. We can see the Jace is still managing to maintain a CS sort of evenness in this mid lane despite that early on kill. Scroody going to recall on a ward, so there's absolutely no surprise where this Hecarim is right now, and Victor going to match that recall with one of their own. Goes back to base, and actually with the Hecarim, I believe, taking 2 crabs here in the early game, and an extra kill from that first blood, is well on the way to the Trinity Force right here. We've got Dagger Longsword as well as the Sheen in the inventory. Up against just the 2 Ruby Crystals for the Sejuani. Definitely know who I favour should a jungle trade about to erupt.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in general, I'm going to favor the person who is, well, not quite riding a horse, but basically is a horse compared to someone riding a boar. It's just less good. There's a reason people ride horses. But yeah, so Scroody definitely having the advantage once again in the jungle matchup. And once Victor played that Hecarim and fell significantly behind Scroody last time around, for Scroody to get ahead this early on the Hecarim. He's starting to style on Zvictor just a little bit.
Exactly, and just sort of show the class that is coming out of this Invulnerables roster, demonstrating why they are so still undefeated, rather, in the Swedish league at the minute. 4-0, looking to make it, or 5-0 rather now, looking to make it 6 here with a convincing victory over the Lundqvist Lightside roster. They'll be able to start that going and really stamp themselves as an authority in the league. A couple of teams still not lost a game yet, and if Invulnerables are able to, you know, broach themselves as one of those 6-0 teams, we can see a big sort of fear factor going forward for this roster.
Yeah, and there's actually only going to be 2 teams after today which are going to be 6-0 teams potentially, because the other 2 undefeated teams are actually playing each other today. So if they draw, it'll be only Invulnerable as the Invulnerable team. I'll talk about that more in a moment, though, as Victor comes in with the flash already on towards Scripter, who might have to flash away himself.
TP behind.
No, holds on to the flash, no problem. There is the TP now. It's Fire Axe on the Claire. Bear Trap on a rope doesn't land. Does get the flash out of Drifter, though. Here is Uzak. Scroody's here as well. It's a 4v4 down here. Make that a 5v4. The hero's entrance comes down, and Victor gives up his own life to try and help his team escape. The Galio's still in the area. Fire Axe doing his best to take down Uzak, but Uzak does get the kill on the backside, trading for Scripter. And in the end, that might just be about it.
Oof, and a 2-for-1 all told in favour of Invulnerables right there. They're able to take 2 of their kills, flashing on many members to try and capitalise on the overextension from LLS and Drifter.
Onslaught of Shadows used, forcing the cleanse out of Drifter, but that might not be enough as the Conqueror does proc Loftician in the area, but the Winds of War don't do enough damage. And Snabby is still there, hadn't quite recalled yet, able to get Drifter out alive with the Eye of the Storm.
Yeah, the nice little shield right there. Might not be a lot, but it is definitely enough in that situation. When we're looking at games of tens of HP, that nice little shield from the Janna going to be more than capable of taking the Jhin to safety. Right now we can see the priority still in those tier 2 boots for Scripter, continuing from game 1 to game 2. Those Berserker Greaves being rushed right out of the gate here. They're going to be picked up and give a lot more agency, trying to get away from the Janna, kite out this Jhin potentially. And without the dive threat in the early game at the very least, we'll be interested to see where this mythic item goes to, because we could see another one of those defensive items coming out in the off the bat with a Vladimir and a Sejuani Jace combo. A lot of dive potential right there, but without, you know, that Ashe as a champion not having the dash, there's potential for the Gale Force here. We'll have to see what Scripter is looking for as we get later and later into this early game.
Yeah, and it's interesting because usually you'd imagine the Immortal Shield Bow to be the defensive option. It gives you the shield, it gives you that sort of extra lifeline. But if you are playing Ashe, there's nothing that could make you more safe than having an extra dash, right? Like, I feel like that kind of trumps the extra shield in terms of getting you out of situations alive, for sure. So I'd expect Scripter to do that. I'll be surprised if he doesn't, but we'll have to wait and see. Fire Axe has been angered by Uzak here, getting a little bit of damage down onto him, but not able to return it. Just going to be a little bit impotent rage on the top side.
Exactly, and both of these top laners sort of have gone fairly even.
Ooh, that's not landed there from Scripter. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow going well wide.
Yeah, I was waiting to see just a little bit of a whiff. I like the effort from Scripter and Beryl. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no harm in trying. There's no objective up for another 2 minutes. But here comes Victor into the bot lane. Glacial Prison is available.
Will it be used by Victor? Dashing forward, does land it directly onto Scripter, who does fall. Beryl getting one in response, though, is actually pretty big, so he is going to give up his own life in the end. Double kill going over to Victor. Not necessarily the recipient of those kills, the intended recipient either.
I mean, at the end of the day, 2 kills are 2 kills, and we saw Invulnerables play through this bot lane beautifully in game number 1. Any help that they can put there will definitely be useful for Lundqvist Lightside. Taking down Scripter and Beryl definitely going to help them out in the early portion of this game. We can see a little bit of focus now on this top side, with the Hecarim walking around there, but Loftician as well in the mid lane. Could be a little bit caught here.
Yeah, Loftition going low, but Beryl is there just in time to keep his mid laner alive. And now Scrooty coming in. Ziv is having to flash instantly at the perfect time, but the Pillar of Fire comes through. He's burning, he's ticking, and he's taken down by Beryl. Drifter trying to punish the fact that Beryl had to step just a little bit too far forward. Hero's entrance will be used, but that's a pretty low health Galio. They're going to go aggressive onto Snabby regardless and pick up the kill onto the squishy Janna, who stepped a little bit too far forward. And in the end, it's definitely going in favor there of Invulnerables once again.
Yeah, they've set themselves up for a nice 2,000 gold lead in this early game, and that neutral objective that we talked about being not being available is soon to come up. The Cloud Dragon spawning in just 10-15 seconds right here. Not going to be taken before the Ash Hecarim are starting to wail on some plates. They might actually take this entire turret here. Rift Herald called and 2 plates go down. This could be enough.
Ooh, the Eye of the Storm prevents it just for a split second, but I think it's only a matter of time there, as the first turret does indeed fall. Fireaxe going aggressive on the top side, and Drifter's in trouble here with Beryl. Pyroclasm bouncing between the Brand and the Jhin, but it's not enough, as Drifter is the one to get the kill with a little bit of help of Victor. A speculative Enchanted Crystal Arrow will not land onto the Jhin and thus will not pick up the kill. Scrooty going aggressive, but the curtain call is here, and Scrooty might want to back away. Ziv is on the backside as well. Drifter and Loftition are between a rock and a hard place right now, but Ziv is being taken low. Will just about escape with the Janna heal from over the wall. That will be enough, and now Loftition, it feels like a matter of time. There it is, the empowered shot blast, picking up the triple for Zivit.
Nice trade back by Lundqvist right there. That's Monsoon over the wall, absolutely massive. Talked about enabling the team, Janna doing just that in that team fight situation. Level 6 had all the safety of the terrain, was able to heal up multiple members during that fight. Keep Zivis just about topped off enough to allow him access back into the fight. They net themselves the dragon as well, but Utak could be caught out on this top side.
Yeah, throwing down the Hemo Plague to try and dissuade the aggression maybe did its job just enough, as Uzak was forced to flash on the backside as well, but will escape from Fireaxe and Beryl.
Going to be able to walk it on out right there. Does burn the flash, as you mentioned, but at the end of the day, not giving up the kill is going to be the name of the game. Maybe we could have saved the Hemo Plague right there, but with Phase Rush, with Pool, there's quite a bit of safety in this USAC pick up on the top side. Interesting to see, actually, that he took the Cull as one of the items that he was going to opt into early on. Didn't take it as his starting item with that Doran's Shield that we mentioned, but Cull now received a little bit of a buff, I believe, coming into Season 11 here with that preseason, now offering 350 gold as it's completed.
Yeah, and some mythic items now coming through as well. Ziv is interestingly going for the Eclipse, which is kind of an all-new item, not really one that's equivalent to anything we've seen before. However, for now it might be Loftition that's in trouble, forced to flash away by Zvictor. The teleport from the backside from Fireaxe getting straight onto Ziviz. You saw the mythic item being used there, but I don't think it's going to be enough to keep Zivix alive. It might just be in the end as Fireaxe loses his mount. Skull goes running away, but Zvictor will not be able to lose their mount, and thus will almost certainly go down, desperately trying to take one with him, but not able to do so. And meanwhile, on the backside, the supports will combat went in favor of Beryl, who picks up the kill. Yeah,
able to flash in and uses the Pyroclasm to its full effectiveness right there, getting multiple Dark Harvest stacks, multiple procs of that going off, and a nice kill onto Snabby as well. Supporter combat, as you mentioned, definitely favourable for the brand right there. 2 kills to the Invulnerables roster. They're able to pick those up in quick succession, and then they're able to, you know, look to try and convert that into vision around the bot jungle. Maybe start trying to elevate the pace of this game, putting paces into Scrifter, and Scroody's going for Snabby.
Ooh, good use of the Monsoon. Perfectly timed, but it's not going to be enough as the Pillar of Fire comes through. Beryl goes low and goes down, with Drifter flashing forward to pick up the double, and now opening up the curtains as well. Scroody's in trouble. Shot Blast won't reach, and I think he's going to be fast enough to dodge out any remaining shots from the Jhin. That was really nice play there from Drifter.
Exactly. Overextension from Invulnerables, netting a couple kills back to Lundqvist right there. They're going to be happy with that. They defend their mid-tier 1, which wasn't particularly under threat. But they'll be more than happy to trade the life of their support for the life of this brand, who has a lot of kills here this game, and the AD carry, obviously. We talked about this bot lane win condition for Invulnerables. It's something that they are working through. They can use it to net themselves advantages. This time around, though, appears to be sort of the weaker side here. We've got the 2 immobile bot lane duo coming through, and they're getting punished for it.
And you know how earlier we were discussing which of the two sort of defensive items we were expecting Scripter to go for in terms of the Mythic? Well, in the end, it's going to be the Kraken Slayer, so neither of them, and actually a much more aggressive option. It basically gives you Vayne's Silver Bolts, pretty much. You have a 3-hit passive, and the 3rd hit procs true damage. So.
I mean, hey, Vayne is great at scaling into the late game, and if any champion wants to pick it up, I see no reason for Ashe to go for that one as well. I'll be interested to see if we get some diversity in the build path. Maybe we see something built toward that on hit. Maybe we see a Ginsu's Rageblade come on out as well, because it will give you a lot more value from that true damage. We can see that up against the Sejuani as well, the true damage is going to do a lot of work. See, I think that is that Aegis or the Sunfire, the new reworked one coming on out for the Sejuani, as Civ is looking for a little bit of poke in that mid lane. But we mentioned, obviously, game number 1, that item, that mythic, this new tank legacy item that we've got, pumping out tons of damage. The Sejuani here going to be in a very similar position to do so if we're able to get the Aftershock procced and get firmly wedged in the front line.
Yeah, and the longer you're there, the more damage you do with the Immolate as well. And it feels like Victor, if the last fight was anything to go by, is going to be in your backline for quite a long time if you're Invulnerables Esports. So I think that's a really nice pickup, and we saw how effective it could be when Fyrax picked it up last game on the Poppy as well. Eclipse actually going to be the case for both Ziviz and Drifter, both going for that particular mythic item. Both times I've seen Ziviz proc it, whenever you see the sort of bluey grey shield around Ziviz, he's procced his mythic item, the Eclipse. And both times it's happened, it hasn't seemed all that impressive thus far, but, you know, maybe it's just a situational sort of thing.
Oh, wow,
Ooh,
okay.
Wow, okay. Speaking of things looking impressive, that looked impressive. Drifter is the one to pick up the kill on the backside, but Uzak doing all the work there. That's knowing your limits and knowing where your power is. Scroody. Here comes Scroody into the fight as well. Hero's entrance not going to land onto anyone, as they've been scattered far and wide by the Hecker, and Fyrax desperately trying to do something on the backside. Snabby trying to get away. Surely going to fall. One more punch from the Galio will be enough. It's the Winds of War in the end, as 2 of them have now gone down. Make that 3 as Scroody gets the shutdown onto Drifter. Ziv is in trouble. Eclipse once again not looking all that impressive, but it is just enough. No, because the flash forward from Scripter. Enchanted Crystal Arrow to the face, I think that was, as Victor is low. Will be able to pick up 1 with the inhalation damage, and now flashing away Loftish, will follow with the Justice Punch. When is it up and available? Here it is. Winds of War go wide. Beautiful play from Victor in the end. Ooh, aggroing Rift Herald. No, okay, the charge is going to go wide. I think it's still going to be a death here for Victor, but it's going to be a minute.
Might be able to even just walk back through his own tier 1 turret in the top lane, but that fight in general, you know, the extended play going on for so long trying to catch the Sejuani, the Rocket Belt not able to pick her up on the back end either. With the fact that that took so long for Invulnerables to try and chase down and not actually get anything for it, actually might give the priority on the Dragon over to Lundqvist right here. Obviously, they have to wait for Victor to get back to base, heal up, and all the way back down. But tempo definitely a bit mismatched right here. The fight itself, though, Invulnerables Esports, they take themselves a 4v5 and handily win it as well. Wasn't particularly close. They spent a lot of utility, a lot of resources of USAC on the brand support, who, albeit is a very potent damage threat, definitely isn't, you know, the only threat that LLS need to be cognizant of.
Yeah, and I think the Onslaught of Shadows was perfect in that fight. It split up the remaining 4 members into 2 sets of 2, or the remaining 4 members, I think, deleted someone as soon as he got in there, and just spread them wide, and they were able to take them down, have little individual skirmishes here and there, which suited them better, given that they were a man down in the fight. We are seeing the Dragon now picked up by Lundqvist Lightside, the 3rd one of the game. So getting slightly closer to that Infernal Soul, but it's still going to be a while before we're getting to that sort of territory.
Yeah, and with a bit of a stagnating play right there, picking up all the fact that they were able to pick up themselves that Infernal, hold it.
Not stagnating for long as Drifter's in trouble. Pyroclasm between the 2 Monsoon, not going to be enough to heal through, or will it? One of them surely going to have to fall here. Both can't escape. Drifter trying desperately to get away. Scroody swinging the scythe ineffectually, but will charge through the back of the Jhin in the end, trample him down and pick up the kill. The Snabby was actually able to escape.
Really, you know, using the Janna to the full effectiveness right there. The Monsoon heal baiting to make sure that the Jhin was able to stay alive for a little bit longer, and then the Storm Shield right there, the Eye of the Storm rather, coming on through, baiting again a little bit more. Snabby actually able to walk it out and doesn't give their life over. Does mean that the Herald rather, does go into Scroody's back pocket, though, with that play in the mid lane. Drifter obviously falling means that there's not really too much congestion right there. The Jhin being down, no curtain call, no DPS source with that AD threat off of the table. Interesting to note that it is the Rage Blade coming through for Script as that second item, so getting that Phantom auto attack every couple of autos is going to help out with those true damage procs up against what promises to be a very tanky frontline in Victor.
Yeah, definitely. And if you can get that Sejuani down as quickly as possible, you deny the ability of that Immolate to ramp up and do more and more damage. So that's definitely something. Time is of the essence when you're killing as Victor, more so than it once was, that is for sure. Moonstone Renewer are going to be picked up by Snabby. The first time we've actually seen a proper support item basically picked up this whole game, because last time it was Brand Pantheon, this time there's a Brand as well. But Snabby is going to be going for that one. So that's every time you damage an enemy champion with auto attacks, or you use an ability on any champion, you give the lowest health nearby champion a small heal. Something like 40 to 60 health. So that's kind of nice, and it might well suit any later items that Snabby's going to pick up if they go for the Ardent Censer, or indeed, what's it called? I cannot remember the name. The Water Staff, though, the new item.
Ah, okay, interesting. So the support itemization and coming in full effect right here. You know, and we expect that from a Janna, right? We're not expecting these big ticket AP items that we can see across on Beryl's side. For right now, though, talking, you know, more generally about the game itself, we've got a 2,000 gold lead for the Invulnerables roster right here. They are down a dragon, however, but looking at the way that the game has developed, right, and just the compositions in general, leaving Vladimir and Jace to scale up and to you know, get to that late game stage is not something that I would be particularly content with if I'm sat on the Invulnerable side. We can see Scroody himself has got, you know, a fairly decent gold lead, and right here they're looking to accelerate that game, just as I mentioned, not wanting to sit back on their laurels. This Baron is being taken and there's absolutely no chance of a steal.
Yeah, I tell you what, that is a lot of damage being done very, very quickly to that Baron, and picked up very nicely there. And Lundqvist Lightside caught a bit sleeping. The game had lulled for a little bit. There's been so much action in both of these games at pretty much every minute that the moment it lulls, you know, maybe you start to suspect something's up, but maybe Lundqvist Lightside just fell a little bit asleep, allowed them to rest a little bit, and that was their downfall here as they lose that particular Baron Nashor. And that is a pretty big power spike for Invulnerables.
Definitely is, and remember game number one with the Baron, they were able to not only snowball down some turrets, but also the Nexus falling very quickly afterwards here, so we'll have to see if they have quite the same effect here. The game much closer this time around, and not even taking the top lane tier 1 turret just yet definitely suggests the state of the play.
Ooh, this might be a good pick here. Onslaught of Shadows used, and Scroody will be able to escape. Beryl pretty far forward, but Victor stepping too far as well. Enchanted Crystaro goes wide. Eye of the Storm is just enough in the end. There's a charge coming in from Fyrax, but that's not going to hit anybody. Gets him in the area, though, which is where you want to be. Now, Loftitian on the backside looking to occupy Snabby at the very least, but Hextech rocket belting away rather than in means that this fight is not going to continue any further, so 0 deaths on either side.
Well, they're going to be able to... Oh, maybe catch Civ is here.
Okay, so maybe it will go a little bit further after all. Blast Cone over the wall with the Infernal Rift should be enough for the Jace.
Okay, we have the Infernal Dragon spawning in 5 seconds. Looks like neither team is happy to give this one up. Victor's recalled, has enough HP to try and contest right here, and Usak has Flash.
Oh, and we've seen this one before on a different champion, albeit Hero's Entrance comes out and Uzak has to run away sharpish. Is able to do so with the extra movement speed you get after using the Hextech Rocket Belt now. And that was a very, very speedy Vladimir running away in the end, and Uzak thus able to survive. Does take a significant chunk of Scripter's health in the process, though, and now it's just posturing. Both teams want this dragon. Wow, sniped down there. Beryl falling to the empowered shot blast. That was a huge amount of damage out of Ziv. His Beryl wasn't even really that low. And that makes it a 4v5 once again. But we saw what happened last time it was a 4v5 without Beryl on the map. It was still heavily favouring Invulnerables as they're still just sort of posturing here.
Yeah, the poke is going to be enough to deter And Invulnerables from taking the fight right there. Down 3,000 gold. Lundqvist Lightside do not hesitate. They find the pick and they find the neutral objective as well, putting themselves onto Soul Point right here. You know, albeit that Invulnerables are ahead in the gold state, but in terms of tempo, in terms of the neutral objectives right here, this Baron has been pretty lackluster. All turrets still remaining for the Lundqvist Lightside squad. They didn't lose anything off of the back of that Baron. It was just a simple cash injection. And when you have the Baron, you're looking to get much more than that. You know, losing a member, losing the Drake as well, just feels incredibly bad right here. The scaling still coming through from Yusak, and yes, Loftition was able to save his AD carry with the hero's entrance. You wonder if that's going to be quite enough as this Vladimir continues to scale up and continues to be a menace.
Yeah, this game definitely hanging in the balance a lot more than last game was at this stage. It was around the 16-minute mark last time that Invulnerables blew the game wide open and heavily in their favor, but this time it's still nip and tuck. A 3,000 or thereabouts gold lead is fairly significant. It's not insignificant at the very least, but however, on the other side, you've got 3 dragons to 1 and that infernal soul looming for Lundqvist Lightside. So even though they are a little bit behind in gold, they're not so concerned with that as they might be otherwise.
No, exactly. If they're able to secure that infernal soul for themselves, the amount of hidden gold that comes from the Drake buff itself will far outweigh the 3,000 gold deficit they are at the moment. Have to continue upscaling in this game though, because at the minute you can still see Invulnerables are the ones determining where they're going, and Drifter...
Ooh, Onslaught of Shadows does go wide, but it gets Scrooty into the area he wants to be. Drifter will just about escape with the help of the Eclipse, and now that's Victor right in the middle of the fights and falls pretty sharpish with that Kraken Slayer damage. 4th shot will come through, and it's a shut down the Drifter as Scrooty can't quite make it in time to take down the Jhin. A 1-for-1 thus far with both junglers falling.
And then this does give Invulnerables priority on this mid lane push, but potential re-engage coming through. Loftition able to justice punch his way out of there. The turret still stands, and despite Invulnerables' best efforts, Lundqvist Lightside are doing a very decent job at maintaining their turrets, holding the fort and allowing this scaling composition to continue to go up. Interesting with the Jhin lethality build. It'll be interesting to see how well that gets into the late game, but you can see that this Vladimir is going to be an absolute menace. The most CS on his team just about right here as Ziviz secures a couple for himself to tick that one back over. This Vladimir going to be an absolute fiend in the late game.
Yeah, for sure. We saw, I mean, Yusak just using the sort of Tides of Blood to do a little bit of damage to Beryl over the wall, who tried to catch Yusak out in the trade. Still went in favor of Yusak despite the fact that Beryl got the jump on him. So yeah, that's just the sort of the very basic power that the Vladimir offers, but there's a lot more to come than just that, I can assure you. So yeah, Yusak definitely want to watch in these fights. Victor might have caught Beryl out here. This is not the first time this series that's happened to Beryl, who falls for the 6th time this game, and that was just clean as you like, really. Good pick there from Lundqvist Lightside.
And a different roster showing up here for game number 2 from Lundqvist Lightside right here. Able to weather the early game storm that the Invulnerables tried to put down on them. Yes, Scrooty on the Hecarim did his absolute best to snowball the team, but we've reached 28 minutes, we're only 2,000 gold behind, and Lundqvist Lightside are more than happy with that as a deficit. 3 Drakes to themselves right now, and with the Infernal Dragon spawning in 1 minute 14 seconds right here, the Soul Point is looming. Invulnerables are going to have to take a fight right here, and they may well be happy to. But at this stage, it's a question of, are they strong enough? We have 3 items on the Ashe, 3 on the Galio, and 2 big ticket items completed on the Hecarim as well. They have a lot of tools to maybe win the team fight, but looking across on the other side, 3 items mid, 3 items AD carry. Vladimir fully online, the charge going down mid lane.
Ooh, it's only going to find Victor, though, desperately trying to get on towards Drifter, but the Gore Drinker will do almost nothing. Yusak trying to disrupt the other backline as well and will fall in the process. That is not the sort of impact we're expecting to see from the Vladimir. Oh, nice snipe there coming through from Drifter. I'm not sure why Fireaxe walked outside of the safe zone there, but he did, and he fell. Here comes Ziviz into the fight with the Eclipse. Now that's Scrooty on the backside trying desperately to do the same to Lundqvist Lightside, and it looks like Scrooty has the most damage of the 2 and will be able to have the biggest impact. The Zephyr won't even pick up the kill onto Beryl as Snabby falls, making it an ace for Invulnerables Esports as they will now push in towards the base.
Yeah, a really well-played team fight from Invulnerables right there, and Scroody for me coming up huge in multiple instances. Zoning away USAC from Scripter, the big DPS source of this Ashe, was never felt presence on from this Vladimir, and then when Jace re-engages, a wonderful 3-man onslaught of Shadows is able to keep the team safe. Scripter now ending the game as USAC's trying to defend.
Yeah, Uzak desperately trying to do something. Scroody will fall, and there's an Executor's Beryl goes down as well. Uzak doesn't quite have the damage to deal with him, and Scripter's doing so much on the backside with the Rangers' focus, and that's going to be enough for Invulnerables to take the second game of the series. This time, a bit more by the skin of their